When the Walt Disney Company bought Marvel Entertainment, there was a lot of skepticism about the acquisition on Wall Street. At the time, Wall Street analysts thought all of the best superheroes are already taken. I mean, Spider-Man was licensed to Sony, Fox had the rights to the X-Men, which is another one of its popular comics, and there was a great deal of skepticism about whether this $4 billion transaction would ever pay off for Disney. So we decided to examine how much Marvel is worth to Disney a dozen years after its acquisition. This is a number that Disney doesn't report, so with the help of some industry analysts, we calculated its current value to Disney, and we estimate it's worth about $50 billion. So Disney has embarked on this strategy of lining up major entertainment franchises, recognizing early on that big name entertainment brands would attract consumers at a time when they're increasingly awash in all kinds of viewing options. Disney's first acquisition of Pixar came right after Bob Iger was named the CEO of the company back in 2006, and its more recent acquisition of Star Wars back in 2012 for $4 billion, roughly the same amount of money it paid for Marvel. So we took a look and compared the box office performance for these franchises, and Marvel far outstrips either of the two acquisitions. So the 24, now 25 Marvel films have brought in excess of $22 billion at the box office since Marvel Studios began making these films back in 2008. So that's an enormous cash haul for Disney. Now, by comparison, Pixar, which is also an enormously successful franchise for Disney, and it lives on in its theme parks and it lives on in consumer products, its box office tally is around $15 billion. And Star Wars, shockingly, is slightly yet less. It's around $11 billion. We estimate that sales of all these Marvel toys and Marvel bedding and all things Marvel have contributed roughly $10 billion in licensing revenue to Disney since it acquired the Marvel asset. More significantly, as Disney launched its streaming service, Disney Plus, it has increasingly relied on the popularity of the Marvel brand to attract subscribers. And we estimate it accounts for roughly 20% or 22% of the $200 billion value that analysts have assigned to the streaming service. The popularity of shows like Loki or WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier all have helped Disney attract subscribers to its streaming service. And once they're there, they can access other Marvel films or other Marvel content. It has been an attractive lure for new subscribers. Disney's an amazing merchandising machine, and the films are just the beginning of the way that Disney exploits its intellectual property. The characters that we see on screen will live on in consumer products, toys and bedding and apparel, and they will also live on in theme parks. They will serve as an attraction to get people to come to the parks. Disney has a very sophisticated way to take its creative output and find ways to bring revenue across all of its various properties. So the next film due on its release slate is The Eternals, which is scheduled for release in November 5th. Disney was likely watching the performance of Shang-Chi to see how it did at the box office over Labor Day weekend at a time when the pandemic is surging, and there was some question about whether moviegoers would actually return to the theaters to watch this film. It was released exclusively in theaters before it is available on other platforms like streaming. And the movie broke domestic box office records for Labor Day weekend. It brought in an estimated $90 million in the US and $146 million globally, which no doubt sort of validates the decision to release this movie into theaters and will likely clear the path for The Eternals to be released theatrically in November.